Today's episode is brought to you by Bones Coffee Company. You can forget about boring coffee when you drink Bones Coffee. Not only do they offer a variety of flavors such as strawberry cheesecake and maple bacon, they are a family-owned company that puts great detail not only in their coffee, but in the artwork that comes on each individual bag. Bones Coffee has a coffee club that will deliver your favorite coffee to your door every month. If that wasn't enough, they also have some amazing swag to offer. Check out Bones Coffee Company today. I'll have my affiliate links in the show notes for you. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of True Crime Tuesday. Today we are talking about the strange disappearance of Riley Strain, a 22-year-old college gentleman who is lost in Tennessee in Nashville. Today on the line I have Cricket. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. And I've also got Tammy. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. Well, today we are talking about the strange case of Riley Strain. He went missing in Nashville on March 8th. So at the time of this recording, he's been gone for 10 days. He went there with the fraternity. He had, I think there was a group of over 200 kids that actually went to do this. I say kids. Probably shouldn't call them kids, 22. They're technically adults, but college-age students. They went there. The group was bar hopping from different locations. I have that he went to Miranda Lambert's bar, then they went to Garth Brooks, and then they ended up in Luke Bryant's bar. Now, in Luke Bryant's bar, this gentleman was served one alcoholic drink and two bottles of water, and that was it. But at 9:38, he was asked to leave. He was escorted out by staff, but the one person that came down the stairs to go out with him stopped, I guess, to pay their tab or whatever. By the time anyone came outside, he had already wandered off. He had messaged that he was going back to the hotel. Unfortunately, he went the wrong way out the front door, and we lost track of him about 5 blocks away from his hotel where he should be. And so within 5 blocks, we have a little bit of surveillance video. We have videos of him stumbling and falling down. We have one video where he's running, and then he literally does, he trips and does a somersault head first into some kind of signpost. We should also show some strange video where he just kind of says hey as he walks by a police officer, and in that video he actually seems somewhat normal, and yet somehow within this 5 blocks we lose a 6'5" tall gentleman, blonde hair, blue-eyed. 6'5" is a big guy, and somehow he goes missing within 5 blocks in Nashville. Unfortunately, nobody out of his fraternity, when they get back to the hotel, nobody seems to notice he's missing, or I can't tell you what they were thinking, but for some reason the 911 call did not go in until almost 1 o'clock the next day. So there are so many questions in this case. It's ridiculous how many questions, and every time we get a little bit more information, it just brings more questions and no answers. So let's start out first. I'm going to do a screen share here, and let's start out first with the 911 call. Now, this 911 call is on Facebook. It is put on by the news channel 5, Nashville News. So this is not owned by me. It is owned by Nashville News. Okay, can you guys see it?
March 9, Saturday.
Yeah.
Can you guys see it okay? All right. I'm going to go ahead and play this, and then we'll talk about it.
March 9, 2024, 13:46 and 24 seconds.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
Hi, I don't have an address. I'm trying to file a missing persons report, and the Central Police is closed, and the Sheriff's Office said that we couldn't do it there.
Okay, so where exactly are you now?
We're in front of the Central Police, how do you say that? Precinct? How do you say that? Precinct. the Central
Okay.
Police Precinct on.
Okay, there,
What road is it?
601 Korean Veterans Boulevard in downtown
Yeah.
Nashville, like right across from the Music City Center.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that where you're able to wait for a police officer to come and speak to you?
Yeah, we can wait for an officer here.
Okay. What's the phone number you're calling from?
Oh, my phone?
Yes, in case we needed to reach you back, what is the best number to reach you at? And what is your name, sir?
Brayden, Brayden.
And your last name?
Baltz.
Okay. And who is it that you're wanting to report as missing?
We're here on a fraternity formal trip. It's one of my good buddies.
Okay. What is his name?
His name is Riley Strain. Riley, Riley, Strain, Strain.
Okay. Is he white, black, Hispanic, Asian?
He's white. 22-year-old, 6'5", blonde.
Okay. And what was he last seen wearing?
Outside of Luke Bryant's bar last night at like 10, and then the last time his location on his phone was by the sheriff's office at like 11 p.m.
Okay. And what color clothing was he last seen wearing?
He's wearing jeans, boots, and a half black shirt, half brown, light brown.
I'm going to stop the video there. His shirt was actually kind of a white. It was a very pale cream colored white and black. The shirt is, one side of it is black. The other side of it is creamy white with a black pocket. And so it's pretty, stands out pretty well. And you can see it in surveillance footage. I guess that is one good thing. You can actually pick him out of a crowd because of his shirt. So that makes it a little bit easier to track on surveillance footage. But, so I find it disturbing. 13:46 p.m. That means it was at 1:46 p.m. for those of you that don't do military time. So it was almost 2 o'clock on Saturday. He went missing. The last time he was seen was Friday night at almost 10 o'clock. So what was going on for all of these hours? Were they looking for him? There was some reports that they had kind of gone on one of his Snapchat apps and tried to see his location, couldn't find his location of his phone. So I want to know how, when did they discover him missing? Did they do any active searching themselves? Did they write it off, and thinking, oh, he'll come around? What was, I would like to see some interviews with these people. Of course, we're also talking people, some of them 22 years old, some of them maybe under 21. I don't know. So you kind of got to be careful what you put public, because some of them could technically be minors, but they shouldn't be if they're all out bar hopping. So I find it disturbing that they didn't, they left him on the sidewalk alone and then he wandered off. I find it disturbing that it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon the next day before they reported him. I find so many things disturbing about this case. But the last time he was actually seen on surveillance videos was at 9:52. He was last seen walking north on Gay Street between, it's between the Woodlands Street Bridge and the James Robertson Parkway. So he was seen there, and then they've looked at surveillance videos from everywhere they can find, and they never see him get past that point. Now, there, of course, we've got a river and a body of water nearby, and we've also got, between here and there, you've got a big homeless camp. So to me, it seems strange that you would see a group of people coming to party together, and yet there's not anybody to escort this person home. So we're not laying blame on anything, but we need to understand that this is a very large group. This isn't just like 3 or 4 guys. This is 200 people on a very crowded Friday night, and a very crowded area of Nashville. So Cricket, we'll jump in. What's your opinion on some of this so far?
Well, the water, I find that hard to believe that he could have possibly gotten in the water on his own accord. Number one, because of the guardrail, his condition, and seeing the videos today, I saw the steepness and the rocks. So I don't even think, had he gotten over that guardrail, I don't think he would have even made it into the water.
Right. Well, there's a question here. We're talking about the Cumberland River. The question here is 8 days into the investigation, it's basically all hands on deck. If you watch all the police updates, it's all hands on deck. They've even got their cold case squad out there looking, and so and we're talking about a pretty good size police department too. We're talking about Nashville Police Department. So they got plenty of money. They've got plenty of manpower, woman power for all of you guys out there that worry about that. But they seem to still not be able to come up with anything. But then all of a sudden, 8 days into this, a couple of volunteer armchair sleuths, they come in and they decide to volunteer to help search the shorelines, and all of a sudden they find his debit card. Now, I've read some articles that people were skeptical of that because they thought the professionals had already checked there, and so they're wondering, why is it there now? And then there's some people that say, well, maybe it was there and it rained and that washed away some debris that it was hiding in or behind or under. Cricket, you've been on a lot of actual, you've been boots on the ground looking for people in a lot of searches, both missing persons and some cold cases. What is your opinion? Do you find it odd that the volunteers would find something like this versus the professionals, or does that happen a lot?
No, I find it very odd. Now, mind you, when I've been there's small groups. In Riley's situation, we're talking hundreds of people.
Right.
I feel that would have been found earlier on, because the way you have to search, you have to clear everything. And it takes, kicking, in that area, kind of kicking stones around, moving debris. And with all those people, I just find it very hard to believe that this card was out there the whole time.
To me, it almost seems like it's a well-placed piece of information that may have not been there at the beginning of this. But I don't know. We don't have anything. But what makes me question it, other than the fact that, it wasn't found by law enforcement, which I'm totally fine with that. I'm happy that a volunteer was able to help move a case forward. I just find it odd, if that place was already searched, that it was found the next time around. I want to know, why wasn't it found the first time, is kind of where my question is. But
and also, in my opinion, for it to be where it was found, that water had to have risen pretty high for it to get there.
Right. And my next question, though, is if it fell out of his pocket, say he fell over and he slid down that really rocky, pretty steep embankment, why wasn't there anything else out of his wallet or off of his person? Why didn't his watch band break and we find his watch? Why didn't we find his crushed cell phone? Why didn't we find pieces of his clothing? Why didn't we find his keys or whatever else he had in his pocket or in his wallet? Why didn't we find his wallet? Why didn't we find if it came from him sliding down that, there should have been a debris field. And if there wasn't a debris field, there should have at least been enough that when they brought the dogs in, they said the dogs couldn't pick up a scent off of anything around that area. And that makes me question it too. If a human being went through there in such a state, I'm sure he wasn't just walking down that, because you can hardly even navigate that. That was so steep. I'm thinking, how could there not be any scent there at all? Because we've heard of dogs picking up scent for more than 8 days afterwards, So I'm thinking, I want to know why there's not more. Why is it just the debit card? It almost seems like somebody knows something and they threw it out there. I mean, I hate
Yeah.
to say that, but that
And just like his shirt being unique, his
Mhm.
wallet was blue, which again, that to me is unique. It's
Mhm.
not something you and
not normal
his
brown or black. Yeah.
right.
You know.
And his
Yeah.
boots, because he's so tall, his boots were brown, size 15. So, you know,
Yeah.
those, if somebody saw those, you know,
That's
I'd
pretty
be like, okay,
obvious. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. So my thought on this is there's just so many questions. It's really easy to say, oh, well, this, oh, well, that. But you know, we're trying to figure out how a 6'5" man can go missing between the bar and 5 blocks later. And if that isn't enough, in that short span there was a police officer patrolling this little area on foot because he had answered a call about smash and grab car burglaries. So he was actually walking down the sidewalk with his flashlight, checking out cars. And there is a video of Riley actually walking past this officer, and it doesn't look like he's stumbling around. And the officer says, "How you doing?" And he says, "I'm fine." You know, and so my next thought is, if he was so, why is in this one video is he somewhat more put together? I mean you can, I guess you can be drunk and still hold a conversation. It's just, if you can't walk down the street without falling and smashing your head, if you can't, you know, if you're stumbling around one block, by the next block you wouldn't, you know, to me it would come out verbally somehow. But we're going to watch that real quick. I'm going to hit share screen. Okay, so this is on Fox News. Okay, so this is the. Okay, we have to watch.
Wow.
You gotta love the ads. You gotta love all the ads. Okay, here we go.
How you doing, sir? I'm good. How are you? Good.
All right, let's walk that back.
It's over here on Gay Street.
Right there
How
he
you
is.
doing, sir?
Look at him. He's not stumbling around there. You guys
What
looking at this?
What time was that video?
9:50. 2 minutes before he lost. 2 minutes before he was last seen on the surveillance video. The last time.
I wonder when, like, with the
That's
time
like in between
frame.
the two. From what I can tell, it's in between the other two videos. Let me
Yeah,
stop
but
sharing
I'm
this.
wondering if, like, because we don't know the timeline as to, like, what time did he, like, when did he hit his head?
Right, I want to know when the other videos are. Because see,
yeah.
like, so we watched that video. Now let's go ahead and watch the video where he is. I'm going to share this one. I want to know how these line up. What's the order of these? And that's the one thing that I can't get anyone to really verify. What's the order of these? Okay, this is the one that's he's running, and I'm like, why is he running? What's he running from? You know, and of course, if he's drunk, it could be perceived danger, not actual danger. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Now, of course, this is not mine either. This is on WKRN.com. So no copyright infringement intended here. All right, here we go. You see him running from what we don't know. Oh, and then they pause in it. This one, oh, see right there he is. I don't know why it's skipped right there. Unless that's the way they edited it up. I wish we could see the other one. I haven't.
Does that look earlier in the day, or is it just the lights? But it looks like
it's just the lights, because in all reality, Tammy, this all happens within less than 20 minutes.
Oh.
He leaves the bar at 9:38. At 9:52 is the last time we see this man. So I mean, we've got less than 20 minutes. You know, it's less than 20 minutes. So That video is not a very good one. I wish I could find the other one. But this one looks like it's paused or something. But the other one shows him literally tripping right about here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. And then he just kind of rolls head first into this signpost here. And then, of course, you can see him getting up right here. But I'm like, that enough is enough to give you a concussion. You know what I mean? And then he kind of walks.
Definitely.
Well, he's walking a little, but not bad.
No, but so he's running. He hits his head. Now, let me go back here. I've got to do this step by step each time.
And with the head injury, it could take a few minutes for it to get bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, let me get you.
I had a child that hit his head, and he wasn't showing any of the signs that you look for with a head injury. But an hour later, he started getting sick. And
now I've had a few. I've actually had a few concussions, and hospital. I was in the hospital a couple times for concussions, and it always seems like instantly it hurts like the devil. But then it's like once you stand up and you try to start moving again, that's when it's almost like the blood rushes to your head and everything gets crazy and you get a little dizzy, you get sick to your stomach, and it feels like your head's made of water, and you're kind of like, so I'm wondering if he hit his head there. And then let me show you this video.
Because it just seems to me it was like with him hitting his head, and that's when he started really getting.
Yeah. So, okay. So can you see this one? This one is, again, this is the mirror. This is not the mirror.com. This is not my video. So here he is right there. And look how much he's stumbling there, holding his head, kind of getting up against the wall, having a hard time just navigating the flat sidewalk there. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. And so this is where we're, it will show until he kind of goes off into the shadow and then you don't see him anymore. But you see right there, he kind of stops and kind of leans up against whatever that is for a second, it seems like. So, so my thought, if I wish they would show us in order, you know what I mean? What was happening.
And I wonder if somebody didn't take advantage of his condition.
Exactly. Now here's the last surveillance video that I'll show. And like I said, I don't know where this fits in the timeline. So this one's on Fox News. Okay. And so here's this video, and this is at the corner. Now, I do believe just past this is where we lose him. We lose all of his phone signal and everything, and we also lose sight of him. There he is. He's walking across. You see him. He's still kind of stumbling around. What is he doing there? Messing with his phone? I'm not sure. See, he's still kind of... So, but he's still somewhat keeping himself together. And then he turns around and he's confused and he ends up going back. I think I read that this video continues and he ends up going back the same way that he came.
Why don't they show all of it, I wonder?
Well, most of them, they just have the clips, and that's my thing. With all of the cameras and all of the surveillance that we have, why can't we just somehow clip all of these together and see exactly in order what this man was doing? I don't, but of course you've got spaces. Some places don't have surveillance outside. Some places do. I get that, but we should still be able to string them all together and get kind of a little bit of an idea of order. So here's the theories.
I saw something in there that I didn't see before.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that this is the person, but the woman who was cleaning up the homeless camp. The guy that she saw wearing the shirt was pulling a wagon, and I just saw in that video. Now he was going the other direction.
I seen that too.
But just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I seen that too. A man pulling a wagon in that surveillance video. So here, since you brought it up, I'll bring that up next. There are so many theories surrounding this case. We started out thinking maybe it was a hazing thing because this man was very connected to his family. He had talked to his mom. We mentioned 3 bars that they had kind of hopped through. After the second one, he video chatted with his mom for a little bit, and then I guess sometime later he actually texted his girlfriend. The text was a little bit garbled, so they wasn't sure if it was because he was drunk or what was going on. The text was a little bit garbled. But in just short, just kind of how are you, and kind of a response type thing, nothing major, type of, he didn't text a whole book or anything. But but the first thought I had was, okay, if he's that connected to his family, he's a really sweet, nice guy. He's very tenderhearted. He's very, all of these things. I'm thinking, okay, is he the outcast of this group? And this is kind of a hazing thing that had gone sour real fast, and now everyone's trying to cover it up. The group. And Tammy, I know you've done a little bit of research on hazing rituals, and I know at this point, I don't think any of us really think that anymore. What did you find out when you researched about hazing, and do you think that that's in play here, or do you think it's not?
Well, it does fit into the category of like consuming lots of alcohol and kind of singling a person out. So it's possible, but it's really hard to say. It would be nice to know what went on inside that bar.
I'd like to know, if there's 200, why did only one get kicked out? Was that one pitching a fit because he didn't like what the other 200 were doing? And then he threw a fit and he got thrown out. I want to know why 1 out of 200, which there's witness statements that come forward that says there was 200 of them and they were rowdy, So you're thinking, what did this one kid do to get him singled out to leave? Or was this one of those things that nobody wanted him there and they were trying to push him out anyways? I don't know. I'd just like to know how he fits in socially into this group.
Well,
is he kind of left out, or is he the life of the party, or is he, does he have his own little group of friends? And if he does, where were they? There's so many things. And then I realize, of course, the police can't release everything that they know to the public until it's solved. But do you feel like it's actually a hazing thing? I mean, because hazing, we've heard of hazing rituals where they literally get the person that's never drunk anything before to literally drink themselves to death. We've heard that happen before, but this doesn't fit.
I don't think it was, because if they were doing an alcohol hazing, they would not have allowed him to just order 1 drink at the last bar and then water. They would have said, no, you have to drink, more alcohol. Maybe it kind of started out, maybe they were going to try to get him to do that, but in the end, I don't think that's what.
I don't think it is either. And then the next theory was, could somebody have slipped something in his drink? Do you feel like that could have happened? I mean, both of you, what is your opinion on that? I question it because you've got one video where he seems somewhat lucid talking to a police officer, and you see the little clip of him walking by. He's not falling down anymore. So was that before or after he hit his head? Was he hallucinating and thinking somebody was chasing after him? If that was the case, that could have kind of signaled something was in his drink. Of course, we can't do any toxicology, anything till we find him. What is your opinion? Do you think somebody put something in his drink?
I don't think we can rule it out.
Yeah, I did think that until I saw how hard he hit his head.
No. Well, the video I showed isn't the best one. It's almost like it's skipped right there, but the video I saw didn't skip in that one spot, and it just looks like he tripped and just, flew into that thing. Headlong.
He would have had dizzy spells, and his behavior after that fits with a head injury.
Yeah, and that closely mirrors drunkenness too. So and then you also have to realize that this is a very, very populated hotspot for nightlife. So this is something that, unfortunately, you would think, well, you see somebody stumbling around, having trouble. Why didn't anyone help him? Well, you need to understand how many thousands of people were in that area at that time, but you also need to understand that it was a Friday night, and that is unfortunately common to see people stumbling down the road like that. And so, you always afterwards you want to sit and think, man, why didn't this person do this? Why didn't that person do that? Why didn't the bar call a cab? Why didn't somebody stand with him until somebody came? Then I heard somebody say online, I seen some people ranting and raving about how bad the bar did. And then somebody jumps on and says, well, the bar is not your babysitter. And I'm like, okay, you both need to calm down here. No, the bar is not your babysitter, but the bar is selling you something that's going to cause you this to become this way, and so where does their liability end?
Well, I think if it comes when he is found and they do toxicology, if it is found out that he was overserved, the bar is responsible and they will get him.
Well, and see, they've already done investigations in that, and that bar turned over their surveillance, turned over all their receipts, turned over all their stuff, and he bought 1 alcoholic drink and 2 waters. So at that situation, that doesn't fit with over serving.
Exactly.
So it's kind of one of those things where I seen someone bring up the fact that if he was a female, then they would have more likely been a little more protective of him, and they would have maybe called her a cab. They would have had, buddies walk with her home. You know what I mean? But it's almost like we think, okay, he's 6'5" tall man, we don't need to worry about him. But that's not the case. If you're inebriated, if you have a head injury, if you've been drugged, that levels the playing field. Your size really doesn't matter at that point. If you can't stand up, you're easily taken advantage of. And so we need to, I think that's something we need to work on socially. We're always talking about this toxic masculinity stuff. And I think that's one of those things right there. It kind of blends in there. The buddy system should apply to men too. No, they don't have to go to bathrooms in groups like girls do, because that's always the big joke, but I'm sitting here going, when your buddy's intoxicated, it would be nice if a man was treated the same way as a single female alone. If there was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl there that was intoxicated and just got kicked out of the bar, somebody would have stood with her until their buddy could have paid and got out there. But then on a guy's front, he can take care of himself, So
guys can be in as much danger as women. It's
Well, and see, that's what we need to understand when you're talking about somebody that has ill intentions. Men are just as get victimized just as much as women. I'm working on a serial killer case with an ex-investigator. We're running a podcast together, and that's all this man targeted was men this age and that size, and that was his ideal. So we need to watch out for our friends when they're drinking. We need to work on that, I think, as a society. But anyways, getting past all of that, the homeless camp, we brought it up and we kind of touched on it a couple times, but we haven't really done a deep dive in that. There was some situations around that homeless camp, which it seems like that's where he was heading, and then we have no surveillance past that. So it's almost like he hit that and didn't come out of it. So his phone actually pinged, the last place it pinged off of a cell tower on 19 Oldham Street, within a mile of that, less than a mile. So all of that is right there in that same location, close to the river, right there near that homeless camp. Now, there was a woman who volunteers to feed the homeless and does all that. She was down there feeding the homeless, helping the homeless. It was after, all of this hit the news. And She didn't realize what she had seen at first. She was talking to the person she was with, and she noticed that this homeless person, walked into the camp. He had kind of a zipped up hoodie, but it was half unzipped, and he had a clean shirt underneath this dirty, grubby sweatshirt he was wearing. And she noticed that it had a light colored side with a dark colored pocket. And she's like, she can't guarantee that it was Riley's shirt, but it looked so similar. And she didn't notice it at the time. She didn't put that it was Riley's. She just noticed it was odd that this homeless person, who probably didn't seem to have showered in a very long time, all of a sudden had a clean shirt. And she noticed that. And then after all of this hit the news, she asked her friend, she's like, do you remember that, or is that just me? And her friend's like, no, I remember it too. It seemed odd that he has this nicer new shirt on underneath this grubby hoodie. And so, of course, they took that to police, but they haven't been able to find this gentleman now. And then there was something else to do with, the other homeless encounter that we have. This is a witness of a homeless man and his wife who were down in that area, not quite the steepest part, but right there close. I think that's kind of where their home was, where they had kind of made their place. And he says that he saw Riley up there and that he kind of stumbled forward, and a bush or a limb off of a bush kind of stopped his fall. He also mentioned that there was some guy up there, and he hollered at the guy and said, "Don't worry, it looks like he's just drunk." Okay, so I'm questioning, who are these two homeless people? Can we find these two homeless people? Because it seems like the one that saw him up there on the edge came forward and talked to police. But who was the person that he was hollering to, that he was yelling at? Because no one else in none of the surveillance or anything showed anybody following him on foot. So who was that person? Was he approached by somebody on foot? Because that person was never seen on any surveillance. So we've got three mysterious figures here. We've got two homeless people, and then we've got this, perhaps a third person, that this homeless person seen. So does all of that sound suspicious to you, or do you all think that was maybe, you think maybe all of that was just hearsay?
One thing I question about that is that there's no description of this person.
Do you think that's the case, or do you think the police are just holding that?
I don't think that the police would be holding that, because if this person was the last person seen with Riley, then they would want to talk to them as a witness,
right?
So
but do you
they
think
would
maybe
put the
that
sketch out there?
Yeah, but you run into a lot of homeless people. You'll find that they are they have their own little grassroots connections with each other, and they know so and so from over there and so from over here, and so, you know what I mean? So do you think that if the police let it out what this person looks like, that they're afraid that little underground organization is going to shoo them away? Do you think maybe they're holding that?
No, because by putting his face out there, then other people might be like, "Oh, I know who that is."
Mm-hmm. Or do you think
Because
maybe
they would want to find
the
that
whole
guy
thing
to
is
talk to him at
yeah?
least.
Do you think maybe the whole thing is suspect, that there wasn't a third person, and all of these
Oh yeah,
encounters
it
are
could be
one
that
homeless
too,
guy?
because it could be like a scapegoat. Well, I saw this person with him,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no description of the person.
Right.
Then I question, because he, I would think that man would have been able to give some kind of a description.
Well, and my next thought is, could all of this be one? The person that had the shirt, the person that was living just down the bank and saw him up there. Could all of that be one person, and the person he supposedly yelled up to isn't true? Could it all be one person?
Yes,
Gary?
it could be.
You know what I'm saying?
Because we've seen that before too.
Where it's all one. But my next thing is the debit card too. You know, we don't have all the information on the debit card. The next thing is, who would find a wallet with a debit card in it, and not, I'm talking somebody, you know, with criminal intent, not you or me or, you know, Tammy, or I don't think any of us would do it. But if you're intent on stealing from this wallet you have found, why wouldn't you take the money off the debit card? And that debit card, they say, wasn't used since before he went missing.
Well, the person obviously didn't have the PIN number, so they wouldn't be able to use the card. So it didn't.
There's a lot of things you can run it through as a credit, though.
True.
If it's a debit card, you can run it through as a credit. Also, think about it this. If you were a homeless person, you would make use of cash, but would you make use of a debit card that's not yours?
Well, yeah. I mean, you can go to CVS or Giant and you can get money back.
Well, the thing is it would raise... Would it raise red flags? Too many red flags for you if you're trying to hide. Yeah,
because that would be a digital footprint.
So I don't know. It's just odd. It's odd that debit card is the only thing that's found. It's odd that there's no major scuff marks where somebody fell and rolled down the hill. There's nothing else in that area. And so I just find it odd. It almost seems like that's a discarded, okay, we don't want this, let's throw this out. You know, it almost seems like a discarded piece of afterthought for whatever happened, you know, and we're all hoping that this is going to end up in good news and he's just somewhere. But after 10, 11 days, it makes you wonder. And then, you know, if he is still alive somewhere, you know, we need to find him because he's going to need medical assistance if he's got that severe of a concussion.
Yes. And I wondered, I mean, there's nothing on footage, but I'm just putting this out there because we know that this has happened too with head injuries and a concussion. You know, maybe somebody got him to a hospital. He doesn't know his name.
Yeah, that's always a chance too. You know, there's always a chance that he's in a hospital somewhere, that he's, you know, he's holed up somewhere. But we just got to keep our thoughts and prayers with them and the investigation. Yes. And but if you do have any tips, the Metro Nashville Police Department is 615-862-8600. I'll post it in the show notes. Tammy, do you have any last final thoughts before we close this one down?
I thought it was interesting that you were mentioning the surveillance cameras he was seen on, you know, so many of them. And then once he got to the homeless camp, there was nothing else on him. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I'm wondering if he would have went on past the homeless camps. What's past that? You know, I mean.
The water. The Cumberland River.
Okay. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting that, you know.
And the next thing too is if he doubled back, you know, is there any surveillance videos of him going down a side street and trying to head back? How do we lose a 6'5" tall man in 5 blocks is what I'm trying to fathom. Like, how do we lose a 6'5" 6'5" is huge.
Yeah, and
you know,
with
he was skinny. He wasn't like a bodybuilder, but 6'5" is a big guy. How do we lose 6'5" in 5 blocks and not be able to find him?
And running into a policeman and all the cameras. Well,
and that's the thing. Someone says, well, maybe somebody attacked him. Well, they're going to have to be pretty quiet about it because within 5 blocks, within just a short period, you know, a hop and a skip away, there was a police officer walking right there, and he's looking for, you know, anything out of the ordinary because he's trying to catch somebody that's doing smash and grab robberies on people's vehicles. So he's got his eyes open, his ears alert. He's looking for a certain, you know what I mean? So how could he be attacked within earshot of that cop? You know, is
Well,
the next thing too. So
if something happened to him, like in Tent City, a lot of times homeless people with mental illnesses and stuff, they won't say anything.
right,
If
they won't. They protect each other. That's what I was talking about. That grassroots organization, they protect each other. So, you know, but whatever the case is, this Riley's got family and friends and people back home that are just absolutely devastated. So, if you guys have any tips, anybody that's watching this, please call them in, even if you don't think they're important. You know, because you might have that little piece of information that finds this man. And if he's still alive, you might actually save his life, you know, because if he's in that critical condition from hitting his head, then, you know, you might actually save his life. If you have any information, call it in. All right, guys. I think that's a wrap for this one. What do you think?
Yep, sounds good.
Yep. I think we've covered it all.